Hello. Mic test. Hello. Hello, guys, and welcome to the 166th edition of the Trading Opportunities webinar. This is Nirav, and let me give you a quick rundown of what we do in these webinars before we proceed with the actual content. So, basically, about us. Those of you who are new here watching it as live stream or as a recording later on, my name is Nirav. I'm the admin and owner of 50 Eyes Market Analysis, and with these weekly webinars, thank you, Dallin. Let me know about the screen as well, if the screen share is working. So as I was saying, with these webinars, we cover major markets, EURUSD, crude oil, gold, S&P, and BTC. We've been doing it for a very long time. This weekly webinar runs every Friday. Not every Friday, first 3 Fridays of every month. And timing is 4:30 p.m. GMT. Right. So in case you want to watch live analysis every week, we are publicly live. Just join in at this particular time on YouTube as well as LinkedIn. We go live. In the past 164 webinars, we have got a total of 414 trades. We will see what happened with our last webinars discussion, the 165th webinars discussion today in 66th, sorry. Right. So that is the context. Apart from all this, I'm the author of the book Think with the Markets, available on Amazon, and the course, you can check the details here. Lastly, those of you who have gone through the course, do keep in mind we will be running a detailed batch for 5 members exclusively called Training Program LT, which will be hands-on classes with my advanced concepts and learnings of Elliott Wave discussed in them. Right? You can find details for the Training Program LT as mentioned over here. And as far as the private Slack group is concerned, you can request details for the same by visiting the contact us page and selecting requesting details for Slack private group as the subject matter. We do cover live market analysis and my own trade in this group. Right, that's about it for introduction, etc. Yes, lastly, you can check my 6 years plus forecast accuracy all listed here, which surpasses industry standards and verified, etc. Irrelevant at this point. You already know what my accuracy is by watching these last few live webinars. Audio and video is fine. Thank you for the confirmation there. So in that case, let's just go ahead and check out the discussion on euro in our last webinar. After that, we can then head over and go for live chart or the current market data feed. So right here on screen, we have the last week's discussion conducted on 13th of this month, and we are looking at the chart of Euro USD. Here we have what we call looks to be an impulse, but let me just check furthermore if something else was added. It does look like we were looking for a bullish setup on Euro USD. We have what we call 1 up, 2 down, 3 up, and 4 sideways, which will be followed by 5th up, right? That's the play for Euro. 1.14870 is, I think, the support level. Not really sure entirely, but anyways, the suggestion here is very simple. We are looking for a long from a swing perspective or a sideways then long. So in conclusion, we are looking for long. That is the case in our last webinar. Price at the time of discussion was 1.15473. Now let's head over to the live chart. Where's that? So here on screen, you have the live chart right now. 1.15473 was the price. So let's see if we have made any progress or whatever is the case. Right. So since our last discussion, the market has just remained sideways, and then it has even gone lower. So it hasn't really given us the long trade. Let me see then what is the case. However, it does look like the counts have changed a little bit, but the overall perspective remains the same. Let me rearrange all this and then I'll discuss very quickly or as quickly as possible. All right. So as I was saying, it hasn't really happened the way we were expecting. That's nothing unusual can happen, not just in markets, in life as well. Anyways, so what we do have here is a readjusted, or no, not I shouldn't say readjusted, new updated hypothesis. Right. In this hypothesis, I'm assuming that we are in a straight impulse wave, one up, two down, and there will be a three, four, five. So basically, we are still expecting bullish movement. And I should mention here that the alert of what is this level 1.14518 should serve as a sign that perhaps things are not going to work out as we are expecting them to. Right. So you can, in as such, take it as 1.14518 as a stop loss. As such, it is a swing trade. Even if the market goes here, it can still go up. That is my perspective. But I know for a fact not everyone can hold the market when it is going so much against you. It's not very much to the point. It's not much of a point. You can just always exit here, let the market come back, and then re-enter. So yeah, not everyone's cup of tea, but you can hedge the positions, etc., etc. But that becomes a little bit complex for actually a lot of people. Anyways, so let's discuss what's happening here. My hypothesis, let's say two, is suggesting that this market is going to head higher with the this being an impulsive progression. An impulse in Elliott Wave technologies is just a five-wave progression, wave one up, two down, three up, four down, and five up. In this particular case, we are at wave two down here, and then we will see a wave three in the upward direction. Right. So that basically means we are looking for an upside movement or a bullish perspective. Right. After that, we can see a correction for wave four and then up leg for wave five. That's basically our hypothesis too. It's not much of a clear cut hypothesis. The second review is that this market is just going to propagate sideways within this huge range. So it can just go up a little bit. Let me just see the upside of this range is at actually 1.17673 is the expectation. So we can just roughly say like this. We don't have to be very exact with the ranges. The upside expansion of the range can take the market to a little bit higher level. I would say roughly around till 1.84, 1.184, I mean. So it can expand to the upside till there, and to the downside it can also extend to 1.123. Right, so that basically means this market has a huge play area and it can go up, it can go down, both can happen here. There's nothing really, there will be nothing out of the ordinary in either cases. So in such a case, it's advisable to take minor positions. Like if you play with 10 lots, you can, or if you trade with 10 lots, I mean not play, then you can make a entry with one lot only. And if the market continues lower rather than higher first, then only you can continue adding to the downside. So overall, it still remains the bullish perspective. However, given the whole big playground, we can say that this market really needs a wait and watch scenario here. Although I'm already long here, so that's about that. So if you aren't long, I would say kind of avoid it right now. Perhaps make entries around, or perhaps we can look for long entries around 1.15835 or maybe higher. But I think I've said enough about this market. I'll just wait. If you guys have any doubts or questions, you can just push them in the live chat. Let me go through the comments here first. Ativat is saying good evening. Sounds good. Thank you very much for the confirmation. Same goes for Raghu. Both Ativat and Raghu are our private Slack group members. Thank you, and hi Emmanuel, our very much regular viewer. So you can also type in understood, confirm something just so that we are on the same page, and then we'll move over to the next chart of crude oil. Thank you, Raghu, for the confirmation. In that case, let's now first very quickly go ahead and check what was being discussed about the chart of crude oil in the last webinar. So here we are looking at the recording from recording of the live webinar, which was done publicly on YouTube. 13th June. What was being said about crude? Let's check. So for the chart of crude oil, what we were thinking was that it has possibly some downside remaining, possibly for the continuation of wave C, right? So, but in this case, things haven't really worked out that well. I do remember that we weren't entering any shorts. We were just waiting for a clear short sign. And I believe that never happened, or did it? Let's check. It doesn't look like. Anyways, so our bias was look for bearishness on H1 and H2 both. All right, now situation seems completely different. Here we go with the live chart on screen now. I'll remove everything at once. And since our last discussion on 13th of June, where is 13th of June? As you can see, the market was somewhere here. And our bias was that perhaps it is continuing as a diagonal to the downside. That bias has still remained active. Our current bias also is suggesting that this market is possibly having some more downside remaining. But let me clarify a few things. We can also assume that this is a W up, sorry, A up, B down, C up kind of a progression. So it may have some more up move. Let me just explain what I'm saying here. Otherwise, people may get confused. So this is the expectation number, let's say one, hypothesis one, which is suggesting that we are possibly looking at a WXY complex correction, which will suggest something like this. W is complete, X is in progression, and then there will be a letdown for Y. So X can continue progressing a little bit to the upside before taking out or going or heading lower. That's just, let's call not H1, let's just call this H2 in our current understanding or analysis. Right, with H2, now we can discuss things further. Thank you, Edibet, for the information. So anyways, as I was saying, with H2 in mind, we can now discuss things further as such like this. Like what? Like WXY. So H2 is suggesting just downside. Let's change the color, H1. And let's see a counter perspective, or let's say a different perspective. Now H2 is suggesting perhaps the whole move is complete. We can also say W is complete here, X is complete here, and Y is complete here. And if that is the case, because it's a complex count, it can very much be counted in this way. In that case, the market will just head higher. up and up it will go. So we have now two scenarios. H2 is suggesting minor up and then down, minor up and then down. H1 is suggesting up, up and up. So yes, we have some commonality. We can expect some bullishness, but as I said, that is a short-lived one, maybe a short-lived one. So we can look for some sort of bullish play here. If I do see some sideways correction here, then I can possibly look for more clarity and then look for some breakouts or something along those lines, right? So crude oil is going to become a little bit complex, most likely, not most likely, but possibly. And we will have to discuss it in a little bit later time. At a little bit later time, I mean, because it's not exceptionally clear at this point, and both hypotheses that we discussed are not having some very strong commonality, at least at this point in time. Obviously, with more time, things will probably progress and give us a better picture. Anyways, let me know, guys, if you have any doubts or questions, and if not, just type in understood or clear, and we'll just move ahead with the chart of gold. So I'll wait for a few moments here. If I get the response or question, then I'll look to consider answering it. Otherwise, we'll move. Thank you, Raghu, for the confirmation, and thank you, Ativat. So that means everybody is clear on the current discussions. Heading over to the recording from last webinar to the section on gold. Here we go. With the black screen, I guess I was discussing some points. So on the discussion of gold in the last webinar, we were of the view that this market is possibly having some more upside, A up, B down, C up, and we are looking at a possible diagonal with the wave 5 in play. So we are basically looking for bullish setup on this counter. Here's live chart of gold on screen now. Let's take things from our last discussion on 13th of June. Since our last discussion, the market hasn't really given us the upside, but it still hasn't refuted the analysis. The little bit updated part of this diagonal progression is that I'm assuming that possibly that wave 4 is complete here. From here on, we are seeing a WXY progression in the other direction. W here, X here, Y here. So basically, we are looking for more impulsive progression, and obviously, we aren't having a confirmation for the X yet. It can become more complex. It can propagate sideways, multiple different possibilities the wave axis can take in the gold spot chart. Basically, every other chart actually. So W up, X down, or X sideways, and then Y up. So basically, bullish perspective from swing ideas, and as such, we do not want to see this market go lower than whatever this level is, 32.93. Below this level, perhaps this market is doing something really out of the ordinary and then can just fall. And also that particular downside level should be achieved if the market wants to achieve it in within this 2-3 sessions, not far from it, for this bullish perspective to hold basically. So removing every count from screen. The setup here is rather simple. We are looking for breakout longs above specifically 3429. So above 3429, we are looking for bullish movement in the gold chart. Right. Before that, we can still expect some more bullishness because the count seems to be suggesting that. But we really need to be cautious about the progression of wave X. So setup becomes very clear and simple. 3429 plus plus long, and we are already holding longs on gold with a wider stop actually. So kind of irrelevant. If you are already long, then you can already see stops around 30 to 95 or perhaps even lower would be better. But as such, if you are not long, it's kind of a wait and watch market with a very good setup currently coming into play. So gold, wait and watch. Look for only bullish setup. Bearish setup is just or expected to be a buying opportunity. I don't mean strictly, but we need to wait and watch on this counter. Again, not a very solid setup for now. It's just a wait and watch. And let's see what's being going on with the chart of S&P's 500. Do let me know if there's any doubt or question on this particular chart before we move over to S&P's chart. Or just tabbing clear understood. That will also be a confirmation. So here is the outlook. So here you can see the chart of S&P's 500 from our last discussion. We were looking at this and it does look like we were expecting down and then up. That's just one hypothesis. Let's see if there was some other hypothesis as well. Not really. So yes, in this case, our hypothesis basically was that this market can possibly go lower, take out this low of 5930 or something, and then we can look for bullish activity on this counter because at that point the diagonal will possibly be complete. All right. Now let's head and check out what really happened. I can't really see any counter view so far. None so far. Anyways, here is the live chart on screen for S&P's 500. I just want to check or double check one thing. We were on 15 minutes. We were expecting a diagonal. Price was 5998. We were on 15 minutes and we were expecting a diagonal. The trade was 13th. The idea was discussed on 13th of June. So here is the idea. It does not seem to be performing as a diagonal structure at all. Right. What it seems to be doing is possibly heading sideways. Let me discuss that in detail. This market seems to be heading for a wave 4. Actually, let me just check this perspective. This is a little bit complex scenario here. Right. So with this, let me just explain what I'm thinking on this counter. The idea is rather simple. We are assuming there are two things that are possible. The first one is that this market can just propagate sideways within this marked range, which is very huge. I do not think that that will be the most ideal thing that will happen, or even if it's solid enough to consider. So here we are assuming the secondary scenario or simpler scenario, which we are stating that from this point of reference, we have a 1 up and then we have a correction in play for 2 down. In case of correction, we just want a zigzag. Once the zigzag is complete, then the market can take off. So this is also suggesting bullish scenario. So from two analysis, we are concluding that there's a possibility of bullishness on this counter, right? However, it's a swing possibility. This is not an outright long trade. It will become an outright long trade, or we can consider an outright long trade once we see the market go above and sustain above 6030. So above 6030, I am interested in this bullishness, right? Without 6030, I do not think that we can consider this thing as worthy enough for our what do you call attention. Although I have to say, this week's discussion hasn't been exceptionally fruitful so far, at least. Though we have some clear ideas and perspectives, from a shorter time frame, we haven't really found any great trades. Obviously, the discussions will turn into great trades very soon, but we haven't found any so far. Wave 1 up, zigzag down, A down, B sideways, C down, and that basically means this down leg is possible. This market can still go lower and take out the low of 5921. That will also give us a buying opportunity, possible buying opportunity. Second scenario is rather simple. We can just say that 2 goes here, market goes up there, right? Straightforward, nothing much to add here. And again, if you guys have any doubts or questions, just push them in the live chat. But before that, simple request here. If you are enjoying the content, do not forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends or colleagues so that we can get some consistency in the views. Doesn't look like the YouTube algorithm cares to promote our content that much. And same looks to be the case with you guys. Anyways, that was it. Good to know that you are clear on this one, Raghu. And yes, of course, in these kind of scenarios, we need to have minor positions. Otherwise, the stops may get hit rather simply. So nothing to add here. In this case, we now want to head over to our last chart for this discussion. So let's head over and see the chart of BTC. Here is the last chart of BTC as was discussed in our last webinar. Let's see what was being said before we move forward further with the current price and charts. So in the last discussion, we were assuming that around 104,985, we are seeing a wave 4 in play. Once this wave 4 is complete, possibly the market will go higher. That's the main theme on BTC right now. What else do we have here? Nothing really. So in that case, let's over to Bitcoin's live chart. Here on screen, we do have the Bitcoin's live chart. 13th of June would be placed somewhere here. Only the market which I do not trade is being traded. Anyways, the market was over here 13th June, I mean. It has remained sideways, so the count is so far holding as the market is sustaining sideways. Other than that, let's see. Other than that, I am assuming that possible triangle is forming here. We don't have any confirmation. There is no long setup here right now. Why? Because there is no confirmation that this really is a wave 4. And if there is no confirmation if this is a wave 4, then what are we even assuming? All right, Raghu, you already are in the group, so you already know. All right, getting back to our discussion on BTC. What I was saying is that this correction is still ensuing, and we are going to assume that we are seeing a sideways correction. And in this particular case, we are assuming, or I'm assuming it as a triangle. The setup is exceptionally clear here. We look for longs above 109315. So basically above this level, we will consider possible bullish opportunities on this counter. So it's not a big deal. At the same time, if the market goes below 101285, that's kind of a warning sign. I wouldn't say wrong or anything, but it's just a warning that this market may perhaps be doing something other than what we're expecting. So possible longs above this level, and I wouldn't recommend on shorts or anything in this kind of content. So with that being said, we have now concluded the entire webinar, which we conduct every week. And if you guys have any doubts or questions, just push them in the live chat. Otherwise, just say thanks and leave, because I also have to take care of things here and also take some rest. All right. Adivat, thank you for the confirmation. If you have any doubts or questions, just push them in the live chat and I'll get back to you. If not live chat, just send me on the Insta page. Completion of wave, why can it be or be an opportunity to invest in Bitcoin for long term? So Raghu is asking these questions, and Raghu, I personally do not like BTC, to be honest, and I just track it mostly and do not trade it. The reason is very, very simple. It is not the conducive kind of market that one wants from a chart like BTC. So it's a wait and watch with the setup rather clear, and you'll have to yourself decide what's your money management, etc., etc. आपको बस. So as I was saying, with that being said, let's now let me check this. There's anything else? Nothing else. So thank you for staying till the end, guys. If you enjoy the content, of course, share it, like it, and that's about it. It looks like the feed is lagging because I'm not seeing any confirmation either. Just a question here. All right, it isn't lagging that much. So with that being said, you're very much welcome, Raghu, for our regular viewer on YouTube. Same goes for those who are watching it live, perhaps not participating in the chat, but watching it live, as such as Ativite and others. Right. Thank you guys for staying till the end. Share it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.